Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of A Cinematographer's Diary. My name's David, and I am I'm a cinematographer, believe it or not. If you're watching this and listening to this, what you're probably seeing on screen right now is just going to be some footage from my reel. I just wanted to introduce this video really quick and myself. I'm not sure exactly what the final format of these videos will be, but I just wanted to be able to take some of the experience that I've gotten making films. I'm a YouTube educated filmmaker. I have no formal, training in cinematography or filmmaking. I've been the DP or director of photography on 5 feature-length films, just independent films, stuff you'll probably never hear or see, hear of or see. That's not a knock against the passion and effort and talent that went into making those films. However, you live in a big world, so getting your film noticed is not always super easy, but it doesn't stop us from making them. So I'm lucky where I live. We have a really good film community, and there's definitely a big group of people that I've worked with numerous times. Like I said, 5 feature films. I've edited one of those feature films. I've edited numerous short films. I had a small stint of about a year working for a marketing company doing just commercial videography and editing, for businesses and that kind of stuff. So I've got a little bit of that experience as well. But my passion, obviously, when I'm not doing my normal full-time day job, which has nothing to do with videography, my passion is to shoot movies and make movies and just be involved with filmmaking. So lots of people out there like me. I'm definitely not unique in that. But I just wanted to, I have sort of a passion to put out into the world stuff I've shot, and just maybe what I've done might help somebody learn. I was always so appreciative of the filmmakers on YouTube that I watched, their tutorials and having them explain basic stuff, different kinds of lighting, and everything back to when I first picked up a film camera and was doing photography, the exposure triangle and all that kind of stuff. So I certainly don't feel like I am as talented as they are or anything like that. Not even close, but I do have experiences, and maybe what I've done and how I do things might help someone. I would definitely consider myself more of a frugal filmmaker. I have I won't say cheap gear. The most expensive light I think I have a couple of Aperture 300s, but that was I felt like I had to take out a small loan to get those. But I've never worked for a big company, never worked on a big set. Everything I've ever done has just always been independent filmmaking. Of the 5 feature films, I think I got paid a little bit on one of them. 2 of them I got paid a little bit more, and then the other ones I didn't get paid anything for. So again, it's definitely a passion of mine, and I do it because I genuinely love to do it. And because I love to do it, I like to talk about it. So, and maybe again, how I light something or the equipment I use is maybe geared more towards people who are starting out, or sort of like, everything I have is definitely, consumer level or prosumer level. I've shot on a Red, but it was the Red 1, which was the original Red camera that came out in 2008. And the camera I currently shoot on now, I still use the Red 1 from time to time, but the main camera I use nowadays is a Blackmagic Pocket 6K Pro. So, not a cheap camera, but certainly not a $100,000 Alexa 35 that just came out a year ago or so. So maybe seeing what's possible, I guess, on a smaller film set and an independent film set hopefully will help people. For me, it was always about, I've done this and I've done that, and sometimes it was just about making that connection between how to get this look or how to make the light do this. So maybe some of the stuff I say will make some connections for people and have some light bulbs go off and that kind of stuff. And maybe they'll see that you don't have to have, huge cranes with lights and 18Ks and all those kinds of things. Don't get me wrong, I would love to have those. I would definitely do different lighting setups with those, but you kind of make do with what you have. You work within your limitations, which I think is very important as an independent filmmaker. That's just a little bit about me. I'm sure I'll talk more about me as we go along. Again, not 100% sure how this format will end up being. I've got just kind of some random clips from this most recent feature film that I shot. I may end up going through and just, trying to take an individual scene from a film and just sort of showing the coverage. Right now, as I've sort of been inspired here recently to do this, a friend of mine kind of inspired me to do it, but I've not been great about shooting behind the scenes, video or taking behind the scenes pictures. There are always, it seems like, pictures that are taken. So I've started trying to scrounge around and ask around to see if anybody has video or pictures from sets, mostly pictures that show the lighting setup. I'm trying to get better about doing it myself, and I'm going to continue to try to be better about that. I've even had the thought of doing like a vlog style kind of, not really vlog, but just sort of day in the life, maybe just recording a single shoot day and here's what we did, that kind of thing. I think there's YouTubers out there doing that kind of thing, but a lot of the stuff I see sort of, I won't say pre-packaged, because they still have to set up the lights and set up the scene that they're demonstrating, and that's videos where people do that, where it's a tutorial. I mean, that's how I learned so much how to do things. And then so I honestly just don't have the room in my house to do that kind of stuff. I have kids and that sort of thing, so I thought, one of the things I always wished I could find, and maybe there's YouTubers out there who do a lot of this. If anybody actually watches this, please tell me in the comments. I'd love to check them out. But YouTubers that'll do, real world behind the scenes, here's, what we did. And that's why I'd kind of like to do more of put a GoPro on my chest and just make it like a first person shooter kind of video, where it's like, you're seeing us work, seeing me work, because I'm the gaffer, the grip, I'm the everything. And so, sometimes I'll have help, somebody that can just help me carry gear and set up lights and stuff, but I'm kind of doing it all. But anyways, so that's kind of the tentative plan. Hopefully you guys will get some information out of this. I don't know how long it'll be. It may be 30 minutes, maybe an hour worth of just me talking about certain scenes or certain shots. And it'll have video. Most of them will have video. And then there's maybe some that have pictures that sort of go along with it as well. So again, I'm going to try to continue to get better at taking wider shots and longer takes of, longer videos of takes, so you can kind of see it. So, because what I've done is I'm going to go in there and then take the actual finished footage and just essentially sync it up with the video that I have. And so you can kind of see, you can kind of almost see it in real time, where the lights are at, and then what the end product is. And then this, kind of the decisions that went into why I lit it the way I did. Anyways, thanks for, if you've made it this far, for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. And yeah, let's just jump into the first clip. All right, so let's take a look at this first clip. It's going to be a clip from the feature film Happy Halloween that we wrapped shooting it November of last year, and then it premiered in October of this year. And this was the feature film that I edited and was the director of photography on. So the director was Brittany Greer. She's a really good friend of mine. We'll have some more films together, doing some more films together, I'm sure, in the future. And I'll be looking forward to that. She's actually in the process of writing a sequel to Happy Halloween. So yeah, that's exciting. I will be there for that. So this is going to be, I'm going to scoot this forward a little bit. Well, I'll just let you guys watch it. So that's me running the camera. I'm the weird looking old dude, and so this is what it'll actually would have ended up looking pretty close to this in the final film. I don't think it's this saturated, but of course she gets out of focus there, which is fine. But so lighting wise, we are, the ambient light, like the light that's just hitting the front of her right here, and all this is just from a street light. I mean, there's no way to really avoid it. I can't turn them off, and I can't block them out. I can't flag them off. I can't flag them out, block them off, flag them. Anyways, I can't get rid of the light to use my own, which is totally fine. It's not terrible. It's not obviously it's not the greatest quality light, but I don't think it's a big deal. I'm not a huge fan of the color that it puts off, but I ended up kind of desaturating it in the final film, which we'll get to that here in a second. Just got practicals that you can see in the shot here, right here. They're, no big deal. It's nice to have practicals. So my buddy Tyler, he and I have done a ton of films together. He's a good director in his own right, and he was just there to help us. But so I just took a little Godox, a little 12-inch Godox tube light. I have 2 of them. I can't afford the big ones, but one day I shall have some. You know, they have the 1/4 inch, so I you know, so I screwed it on into this light stand. Like, he just doesn't have the legs extended. This is just a, you know, light stand you get with every light you buy off Amazon. So we just attached it to the end of that way he kind of boom it out. And so the light that's hitting the side of the house, and the light this blue light, is just from an LED panel. It's just one of those newer NEEWER. You've probably seen those brands. I have a lot of newer products because it's cheap. I think they're pretty good quality. I think you get a lot of bang for your buck. So I have one of those that's dialed in to the same hue as this light and this light here. This is these 3 lights are the little LED. Aperture makes one. It's like the M something, I don't know, but these are like an off-brand Focusrite maybe, or I can't remember, but I'm terrible with names of products. And then this green light is just my other tube light. And so we've got, you know, just, you know, illuminating light. We see this in the wider shot. We see more of this area in the wide shot. But for now, it's, you know, we're going to see it. And I always tell Brittany, you know, she wants lots of color, or as much color as we can get where it doesn't feel weird. And so I told her, like, we're going to see this in the wide shot. You know, we can then fake, you know, this green light which is from here, is enough to hit her. So, you know, she hasn't even walked into the blue light yet. And so, and this is Emma. She's amazing, and she's our lead. She plays Hadley in the film. And so she, you know, she hasn't even got to the blue light yet. And so we scroll forward a little bit now. It's starting to hit the side of her face right here. And, you know, again, that's what I was kind of getting back to, is I'm very much like, I like to try to motivate light as much as possible. I'm not going to, if I think it'll look better with a light in X position or Y position, then, or maybe to say that more clearly, if I think a light will look, the shot will look better with a light hitting here or there on the talent, or here or there on the wall, or whatever, if it's not quote unquote motivated, I'm not going to not use it. But if you can motivate it, then that's, you know, all the better. So since we're going to be able to see these lights, or we're going to be able to see at least that light is in the shot somewhere in this world, I feel comfortable having Tyler, you know, just walk with us and hit her in the face with that light. So, not physically hit her in the face. And so, as you can see, you know, pretty side lit by it. Probably 3/4, because it's wrapping around to the other side of her face. But and then we've got a little pop of color here, but that was just more set deck kind of stuff. And there's a car back here that you can see. And this is actually in the story, in the film, there's been these murders, and she's kind of got, you know, she's not involved in the murders, but, you know, there's something that happened in her past. And so they've got a police detail just to sort of watching her to keep her safe. So this is actually supposed to be a police car. It's a Kia Soul, which is not a police car. But I'm going to actually play part of this scene for you guys so you can kind of see. And I may slow it down. I may let you just watch it, and then I may go back through it as well. But this will give you this is the lighting setup for this scene. The only thing that changes is that Tyler follows her on down, and then she runs into another character, and they have a conversation. So let me jump to that real quick, and you guys can watch, and then I'll talk a little bit about it.
Hello?
Whoa, Hadley, it's me.
It's him, I know it.
I don't see anybody. What, you think he's watching?
I don't know.
Is it me?
I don't know. Look, I just told you guys this awful thing, and
Well, what do you expect? Everybody just stares at me like I'm the one who did it.
Okay, so pretty cool. So yeah, as you can see, the color grade changed a little bit. This shot here I just did really quick for this purpose of seeing this. But as you can see, the light's on the side of her face. She comes around the corner. This is definitely a different take than the one we have earlier, but you know, she cuts to this, and I went in and desaturated some of that color. It was just too much on her face. But again, nothing, the lighting is still the same. This is the only thing that's changed is that we cut to this shot of him. You can see we've added we had a VFX guy add the police lights. They're fake. It says Kia and Soul, but it's so fast, I think you almost don't notice it. But and this is our buddy Ryan Smith. He actually was the writer and director of another film that I shot called Eldritch USA, which is a horror comedy musical. So maybe we'll have some stuff from that later on in another episode. But again, you know, same lighting. Tyler's just following her with the light, and then boom, she runs into Graham. And then you can see, you know, you can't see the LED panel because it's behind this tree. Actually, there's an LED panel that's way over here, and then there's a tube light. I ended up moving one of these tube lights that was green, and I moved it and set it here to illuminate all this. So now none of that light actually hits their face. All the light you're seeing on his back and this is Graham. He's one of the other leads. He's really great too. I've worked with him a bunch of times. I've actually shot 2 feature films with him. And but so all this light that's hitting him is, you know, is just from what Tyler's holding. It's just from that little tube light. And so, you know, just basic coverage. And you know, when we were done, after I went back and edited it, I probably would have had Tyler bring it around and have it be more half here and half there. You know, not to cover her whole face, but in the moment when we were shooting it, I was on a gimbal and we were just trying to move fast, and I didn't catch it, and that's on me. I would have wanted it to look more like Graham than to look like, you know, to have all this blue on her face. But no big deal. And yeah, so from this lighting setup here, we got a whole cool little scene. And so that's basically it. It only goes on another maybe minute longer. But yeah, there we go. Let's hop over to the next clip. So in this clip, really simple. I won't spend a lot of time on this. This is just one of those to kind of show you. I think this ends up being a really nice looking shot of Emma having this conversation with her mom. And this is just one light. I just have a light that's, you can see the shadow it's casting on Robert, our audio guy. And that's me standing there running camera, watching my monitor, little tiny. There's our director, Brittany. She's the one that did this video. But, you know, I think this turned out really well. I was really happy with it. And, you know, it's nothing super complicated, but it was just very effective. And really the whole point, we probably could have, you know, the main reason to even have this much light in there was just, you can see how just blown out this window is, and it's still kind of blown out, but just having this little bit of extra ambient light in here lets me expose a little bit closer to that. I don't think it's a distraction that this is a little bit blown out. You can still see green out there, which is the trees and stuff. This is the outside of this door, is the door that she walks out of in this scene right here. So this is we're filming in this house. That's the door we're seeing the other side of. So I'll let you watch a little bit of this scene, and then we'll, I may talk a little bit more about that, and then we'll move on to the next one.
Hey. So I know what you're going to say. However, I'm hoping you'll make an exception and let me walk to school today.
I don't think so.
What if I told you Kagan wants to walk with me?
Kagan? The Kagan West? He's always been so polite and handsome. still be a teenager.
Really?
Well, school's close, and you're still gonna have the police detail, so.
Whatever. I'll take it.
But yeah, I mean, it turned out pretty good for literally, I mean, technically, I guess it's 2 lights, but one of them's a practical. So yeah, pretty simple little scene. And yeah, let's jump to the next one. All right, so here's the next clip. This again is from Happy Halloween. I'll kind of play through it. This is me sitting here watching the monitor. You can see right here. So there's 2 lights right here around us. There's a light actually right here next to me on this C-stand. It is, I believe this one is an Aperture 300D. I honestly can't remember exactly. And then I believe this one is going to be just a regular, just LED panel. And we're shooting on the Red Epic. I'll play through this a little bit. It's my buddy Clayton right here. He had access to this jib, and this is his camera. I have access to be able to use a Blackmagic, or I'm sorry, the Blackmagic is mine, but the Red one, the original Red one that I use is a buddy of mine, and he's really cool. He lets me use it pretty much whenever I want to. But so the Happy Halloween itself was shot probably, I don't know, I'd say 50-50 Red and Blackmagic. All this stuff in the corn maze, because the movie, the last 20 minutes is in the corn maze, and that all of that is on the Blackmagic, and you know, a big chunk of the rest of the other part of the movie is gonna be Red footage. But I didn't ever mix the cameras in a scene except for this one. Well, there's probably a couple of places where they're mixed, but when I say mixed, really that's not true, because there's a couple scenes where we like get flashes of like things that have happened in the past, or earlier, I should say, earlier in the movie. And of course, some of those flashes were shot on a different camera. But for this scene, we did shoot 2 different cameras. I think it's pretty seamless. I don't think you can tell a difference. But the Blackmagic, I feel like is pretty close to Red footage. But I still didn't want to mix them. Like, I wasn't going to shoot 2 cameras and have on a dialogue, a conversation and a dialogue scene with, you know, one person's coverage is Red, one person's coverage is Blackmagic. Nope. I don't want that headache. So even though they're easier to color grade than like a Red and Sony or Blackmagic and Sony, and when I say Sony, I mean like they're like A series, A7 IIIs, A7 S's, and that kind of stuff. So even Canons, I feel like, you know, there's always gonna be, and it doesn't matter. I don't want to get into the weeds on that kind of stuff. But this first shot in this scene is on the Red Epic. So, and then there is as we pan around here and we come down, and Ethan is going to come into this shot, but back here there's light here that's hitting, and that's coming from another Aperture 300 that's way over here out of the frame, and it's hitting. Now the pathway here is dark, and this is kind of a discussion that I had recently with somebody else that had asked me about continuity with coverage and lighting. And this is going to be an example of, you kind of just have to, like, I was going to say hope people don't notice, but I don't think it's very noticeable. But we'll kind of play through this. I think this is the first take we did. I think that's the clip I grabbed. This is not the one that's actually in the movie, but I think it's like take 7 or something. But I kept wanting to get a smoother jib. I'd never actually used a jib before. This was the first time I'd ever used it, and it's really fun. I really had enjoyed it. And you can see Clayton is actually, once we get settled right here. The camera comes down and settles, and then he turns and looks at one point, and then we rack focus to that, and that's Clayton racking focus. But anyways, he has a little monitor connected to that as well with focus peaking. So there's this light hitting him, and then he turns and walks down this path, and back here it's supposed to look like a scarecrow, but it's the killer, you know. And there's light hitting him. This pathway comes to here and then goes to the left, back behind here, and there's a light on. There's an LED panel bouncing off of a white card, which is just a poster board basically that I got at Hobby Lobby. And so I've got a shot of it, I think, here in just a second. So this is basically it. It just kind of, you know, he gets a text, he answers the text, but I'll kind of let you guys, this is actually the scene itself. This is cut that's in the movie. This is not the final version as far as like sound design and that kind of stuff, but this at least gives you an idea of what the final film looked like. And it was so still. And that corn is like 8 feet tall. Maybe 10 feet tall.
Lila?
This is Ethan, the actor. He did a great job. He's not real tall. I'm like almost 6'4", and it was over my head. Another thing, just, you know, I edited this, and so movie magic is we didn't actually get a shot of Ethan's hands replying to this text. So this is my phone, my hands out in my backyard. Not even kidding you. I did it by myself. I just set the camera up over my shoulder, and I had a little monitor over here off to the side where I could see the framing. And then Brittany and I figured out what we wanted this to say. It's not really up there long enough to see in the movie, but in case somebody paused it ever, this would sort of make sense, but in the context of the film. But it's actually my hands that start to reply. And the text doesn't even actually match, but that's fine. So that's where we rack to that. And then here's where the difference in sort of the light and you know, so now we're into this. This is black magic footage. And so I moved the aperture that was way off to the side. I moved it up here, and it's pretty close. It's just on the other side of this row of corn. There's probably 2 or 3 rows together. So it's maybe 6 feet deep of corn. And then there's another pathway there. That's where that light is at. So it's coming through, hitting him pretty good. So, but I don't think if you go from this, you know, this is kind of dark, but then so is this, right? Like, he's definitely further down the pathway. But anyways, I think in the movie, I don't think it's that noticeable. It doesn't take you out of it. And so you'll see here in a second, he ends up the killer gets him, and they ends up carving Happy Halloween in his chest. And this is actually our writer-director, Brittany Greer. She's awesome. And she's actually the one who did all the practical effects, the blood, all that kind of stuff, cuts, all that sort of thing. And so she used scar wax and put Happy Halloween on his chest. And we'll see that here in a second. But here's the lighting setup that's hitting right here. It's just literally just a poster board from It's literally from Hobby Lobby. And there's the very bottom of the LED panel. This is me right here. And you can see we've got some stingers. We actually had power. There's a monitor that Brittany was watching that's connected to, it just screws onto the transmitter, attaches to the end of the handle on my Ronin RS3. It's got a 1/4, so we just screwed it on there. It didn't really add any extra weight to it. So, but yeah, that's how we're lighting this little area, is with that one little light right there. So, and that's it. That's like all the lights. That's all the lights that are in the scene. So I'll just kind of let it play out just for you guys can kind of get an idea of. And again, this was the one I edited, so I was very, very intimately involved. And this is that little over the shoulder shot there is actually, we had a stool. I had to crawl into that corn and get that over the shoulder shot. So see him move, of course. Creepy, you know, classic horror stuff and POV.
God, this is such bullshit.
So we got quite a bit of coverage for this little scene. Flashlight on.
Lila?
And so here in the script, they're supposed to have sort of a scuffle, but there just wasn't enough room. And it's like 4 o'clock in the morning. I'll actually show you a couple other little things that are sort of interesting as far as like what, you know, behind the scenes kind of stuff. So you can see here, there's a stinger that we missed. I don't think anybody ever noticed it. The thing that's really bad though, and I noticed it, but after the fact, after I got back and we were looking at footage, is that the boom pole, our mic and boom pole, is right here in the shot. I don't know how he missed it, because this was like, everybody was kind of chatting. I was like, okay, I'm going to grab this shot. And I just did it like 2 or 3 times, you know, just kind of pushing in for that POV, because nobody else had to be in the shot except for the guy who plays the killer. And so anyways, I thought that was kind of funny. So So yeah, so we didn't really have time or a really good space to sort of have a fight, and so we just decided to make it sound like there was a struggle, and so this shot, we sort of made it sound like there was a struggle, and the killer just basically knocks him out, and so to get this shot, I had to lay on the ground. So this is me laying on the ground, looking all sexy. Look at that, woo! But anyways, I just put the feet down and just got it set. And of course I could see that those Blackmagic, it's nice that the thing articulates the monitor, the screen on the back. Those, well, on the 6K, I think they all do, but the 6K, the one I have, the Pro, definitely does. And, which is super nice. So I was able to see it as I was laying there. And so that's how we got this shot. And he actually, it's interesting because he leans back, and as he leans back, he actually falls. And we have somebody that's our director, Brittany, actually just puts her hands on him and just lets him fall until he's out of frame. So to give that illusion as if he's actually standing up. So because he was bent so far over him, he's literally bent over, like his hands on his knees. So, and so then to get this shot, I'm just up on you can see that same stool. That's what I stood on to get that over the shoulder behind the figure. But to get this shot, I stood on the stool again with my Blackmagic, with the gimbal. As you can see, I've got that handle, which is super nice for shots like this. And then I just stood really still, as still as I could be. But this is the pumpkin that you see here. In post, I actually added a little, like, I tracked it and then just made it brighter, because it's not actually that bright in the shot. But then it certainly isn't. You can tell it's only going, the light from it is only spreading to like right here. It's not enough to get all of this. And so I took just another one of those, like I showed in some of the other previous clips, those little LEDs, those little tiny, the Aperture makes them, but this is like a off-brand. But anyways, and then I just took some material that I keep in a tub, pieces of diffusion and bounces, and it's just white material. And so I just shot it through that to give this little bit of, as if it's coming from that pumpkin, because he was kind of not underexposed, but it just looked flat. And so he just gets, I think my buddy Tyler pulled him out of frame. But so he wakes up here, the killer comes up,
Please,
comes in.
somebody help me!
So the lighting is all still basically the same. I don't think we even had to move this. If we did, it was just a little bit, but just enough to give him a nice little backlight. Hit his shoulders, back of his head, super simple stuff, nothing complicated, but just enough to separate him from this darker background. And then the light here is basically the same. I think I brought around that one of the apertures just to give a little bit of this sort of feeling of moonlight, but I mean, that was basically it. So he starts to carve his chest, and we cut away just to hear him scream into the night, and nobody hears his screams. And it's funny, editing wise, as an editor, this was actually just the jib shot at the beginning. This is that one of those shots where we're just sitting there getting everybody set, and Brittany, our director, actually had the idea. She's like, it'd be nice if we could cut away. And I was like, we can cut. And so I jumped back to these clips, and I was like, we only need about 3 seconds. So we just found 3 seconds that was, and I think I used some stabilizer on it, but just to let it feel like, we're just, how empty this space is and nobody's coming to help him, But again, just editing, we stole it from that jib shot tape. So, and then you can see, like, she before this take, we, put a bunch of blood in his mouth, and then he spits it out once the killer walks off. And so I'm just walking in with my gimbal to get this shot. Now, some of the scar wax was starting to separate, like right here, and I think right here from his skin. It just wasn't, it was kind of cold. I mean, you can see he's cold. He's got goosebumps, but it just didn't, we didn't notice it. Honestly, we didn't notice it when we were shooting it, but when we got into post, Brittany and I were looking at him like, oh my gosh, like, we're going to, we premiered it in a theater and at an Alamo Draft House, but it was like, I'm like, this is going to be the size of a building. And you're definitely going to see that. Like on your phone, you don't notice it, but on a big, huge screen in 4K, like it comes through. So we actually had a buddy of ours that he actually does VFX stuff for, I mean, he works for a big VFX house. And he actually worked on a scene. He actually removed the jowls from Harrison Ford's face in one scene from the new Indiana Jones. But he's really good. So he just went in. We just had him go in, and he was gracious. Like he just did it for us for free. He's somebody who's he lives, he lives where, where I live. And so, from this area, and Brittany actually had worked with him on some sets before because he's done some filmmaking stuff himself, and we have a bunch of mutual friends. Anyways, he went in and just made all this red, and you'll see here in a second. We kind of dolly in and then we cut, and then we have this dolly out. And if you can notice, there's none of that red is here. It's mostly, it really looks, this I think looks better because it really looks like it's cut into the skin, but we really had to hide the fact that some of the stuff, the makeup was coming off. And so, anyways, we toyed around with this kind of cutting sound, but that's it. That's another scene, a really fun scene to shoot. And I think it's, I think we used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights, I think, 2 Aptus 300Ds, and then the 2 LED panels. So no, 4 lights, I guess, if you count the little light on that drags, the scene where he gets dragged right here. That's 5, but pretty simple setup. And yeah, I mean, just kind of tweaking the lighting as you change coverage, moving it around, making sure everything looks as consistent as possible. But again, going back to that kind of idea of consistency and lighting from different coverages, I don't think anybody really necessarily is going to nitpick, that going from the jib shot into the him out walking into the corn, the lighting definitely is different, but not so noticeable that it feels off-putting or takes you out of it. So I doubt a lot of people would even notice it. So I forget about it when I'm watching it. But yeah, I think again, we may have just moved that aperture around just a tiny bit just to make sure it hits him, and then all the rest of this light here is just coming from that bounce and that little LED panel. So yeah, fun little scene to shoot, and I think it turned out pretty well. All right, guys, I think that's probably going to wrap up the very first episode of A Cinematographer's Diary. I do have a lot more clips that I started to go into in this video, but it's already long. So let's not do that. But I think I've got plenty for at least another 2 or 3 episodes. I will probably continue to try to use this similar format unless somebody in the comments, if I get enough votes to change that up. But I do appreciate anybody who's made it this far. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you guys have any questions about any of this, please ask. I'm always happy to to read the comments, and I'll come back around and try to answer as many as I can, either in a video or just directly in the comments. So, and on upcoming and future projects, I'm going to try to do better about getting better, behind the scenes pictures and video, just to sort of, with this kind of format in mind while I'm shooting those videos. Longer videos, probably, as much as I can get, and hopefully that'll lend to some better content in the future. But again, thank you guys for jumping in. I really, really do appreciate it. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one.